Hey, welcome to Toasty's 2 Cents, where I play video games off camera and then review them in a very short video. Hey, quick note before the video starts. The gameplay footage is really laggy, very low FPS, and that is not because my OBS is fucked up or anything. That is how bad the game performs on PC. I get into it in detail later in the review, but I just wanted to let you know I did my best. A lot of this gameplay just turned out really laggy. The game is just like that sometimes, and there's nothing I can do about it, but yeah, on with the video. I decided I'm gonna start this new series because I realized I was writing whole essays in my community tab on my YouTube channel, and I was like, hey, what if I just made a video instead? I feel like that's a better way of going about it, so we're gonna do that. Today we're gonna be talking about Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and I'll tell you what, I got a lot to say about this one. Just yesterday I finished the game, I beat the campaign mode, and we're gonna talk about the pros first, and then we'll get into the cons, and then my overall impressions. Just to give you some background knowledge on my thing with Star Wars, I've been a Star Wars fan pretty much my whole life. I'm not too knowledgeable on the animated stuff. I saw some of them when I was younger, but I don't remember too much about it. Live action, though, is my thing. I love the live action, the movies, the shows, all of it. I'm really into it. And the games, I'm not too knowledgeable on like some of the older games, but the more recent ones I have played, I really enjoyed Jedi Fallen Order. Jedi Fallen Order was literally one of my favorite games I had ever played in my entire life, so needless to say, I had very high expectations for Jedi Survivor, and I think that overall, it hit the mark for me. I think it was very well done in many different ways. They had its issues, but overall, I felt satisfied with it. Alright, let's get into some of the pros, some of the good things about this game. The storyline, phenomenal. I think that the whole story surrounding Cal Kestis, I always found to be very interesting. I think they have a really good idea with it. Cal is a very unique Jedi in many different ways. I don't want to get into spoilers right now. He is very unique in many different ways, and the storyline surrounding him is just really intriguing, and I always found it to be very interesting. When I'm playing games, I feel like I prioritize the storyline very much. You know, I want to play through a story. I want to hear, like, the story of like different characters and stuff. That's kind of one of the most important things to me when playing games. So Jedi Survivor definitely was a very cool story to play through and experience for me. The gameplay is amazing, really cool. I love the different lightsaber stances. My personal favorite is the double-bladed one, like the Darth Maul looking thing with the two blades. That's my favorite stance. I played through that most of the time. But the fact that there's like 5 different stances and you can like experiment with different ones, and there's like different skill trees for like every single stance, and you can like prioritize different stances over others as far as like the skills you develop. I ended up maxing out the skill tree for the double-bladed stance, and it's just really cool. Like, the way the different stances work in different situations, you know, it depends on your playstyle, I guess, which one you're gonna prefer. You know, each stance does something different. The stance you're gonna want depends on what playstyle you tend to lean towards, you know, and, like, the fact that there's, like, 5 different, very different stances to choose from, and, like, you can play the game in a lot of different ways. I think that's really cool and very well done. The stances are great, and just the animations and stuff for the gameplay and stuff is really cool. I think they did a great job with, like, you know, the different scenes and stuff that happen whenever he's, like, defeating an enemy, he'll, like, jump in the air, stab somebody, you know, all the different moves he does. It's, like, straight out of the movies. It's very well done. It's not just, oh, you stab the enemy, it's over, you know, he'll do some, like, crazy fucking dude perfect looking trick shot move and, like, you know, defeat the enemy that way and make it look really, oh, Jesus, really awesome. My voice cracked. I was so hype about the stances. They're good. They're very good. And I think overall, this game really expands upon the first installment in the series in a very good way. I think they took everything that made the first game so enjoyable and just did more. You know, expanded on it, you know, expanded the storyline, you know, all the different combat options and everything. They just did a good job with it. I think something I didn't touch on yet is like the way you traverse the map. There's so many different things he does. He climbs, he jumps, he goes all over the place. There's a lot of different things going on there, a lot of things at play. A lot of them carried over from the first game, and I think there were definitely a couple that were brand new to Jedi Survivor, and I think they expanded upon that in a good way. It's just kind of they took their foundation with Fallen Order, and they kind of made it better, you know? So they definitely improved upon the first game, which is already so good, and they took all those things they did well and expanded on it, and that's what makes this game even better in my opinion overall. I would say it's like even better. As good as this game was, it does have its flaws. We're gonna get into that right now with the cons. Alright, let's get started with the elephant in the room. Nah, fuck that. Let's get started with the Godzilla in the room. It performs very bad on the PC. I'm not gonna beat around the bush about that. It's very clearly a game that is meant to be played on console. They even tell you at the beginning, like, oh, you should plug in a controller to Steam because it's better that way. They don't want you playing on a keyboard. It's just made to be a console game, and the PC port is not good. There were times at which the performance was nothing shy of utterly atrocious. Very bad frame rates, very laggy, glitchy, whatever. It's just not a good PC port. The game is so good, but it was so frustrating to see it perform so bad on the PC at times. I touched on this in my community tab earlier in my playthrough before I beat it, but I was having a lot of troubles with like the lag and stuff, and the game straight up crashing at random points. What I ended up doing was I updated the drivers on my PC, like the graphics card drivers, and then after a restart, it got a lot better. If you're struggling with performance issues, I would say make sure your graphics drivers are up to date, the absolute newest update they have, then restart your PC, log back in. Hopefully a lot of your issues will be solved. However, that did not completely eliminate the issues. There were times, especially on Kobo, I think, was the one planet where there were a lot of low frame rate issues, and the game did occasionally just crash out of nowhere, which was weird. I don't know why. It definitely did that, though. It just kind of crashes, upon startup or at random points. I'd say towards the end of my playthrough, that kind of subsided a little bit. There weren't as many crashes, but it did kind of crash at random. I actually lost progress on one of the boss fights because of that, which was fun. Yeah, it wasn't a hard boss fight, at least, but it was definitely kind of a pain to do a boss fight, and then you just lose all that progress. You got to start over. That's a pain. I could rant about it for a while, but in short, it is a very, very good game with a very, very bad PC port. If you have a console that supports Jedi Survivor, you should do everything in your power to play it on the console. I think that, don't buy a console just for the sake of playing it on console if you only have a PC. Like, I only have access to a PC right now, and that's kind of why I had to play it on PC. If you have a console, absolutely play it on console. If all you have is a PC, you can't afford a console, or you don't want to buy a console just to play the game, I think it's worth playing on PC as long as you don't get too frustrated over lagginess and like low frame rates. If you're the kind of person who's susceptible to gamer rage, I don't know if it's a good idea for you to even bother, because it's gonna be annoying at times trying to deal with the bad performances on the PC. It's just not amazing, unfortunately. It's the reason why it has mixed reviews on Steam, despite being such a good game. I think everyone's common sentiment is that the game is really good, but they did a terrible job porting it to the PC, and that's the problem with it. So if you can avoid playing it on PC and just get it on console, absolutely, by all means, I implore you to do so. But if you can't, I think it's still worth a playthrough. But just keep in mind, you're going to have some performance issues on the PC, and there's nothing that can really be done. You could have a fucking RTX 4090, and you're going to experience some problems, Alright, next problem with the game, in my opinion, navigation assist. Okay, so when it comes to any video game, I have the navigation skills of Zoro from One Piece. I cannot navigate for shit. I get lost all the time. I am not good at reading maps, if I'm being honest, so I rely on the game's built-in navigation assist system to guide me where I need to go when it's like an open world thing, like Jedi Survivor is. It's open world. The navigation assist I found to be not great. Most of the time it worked. It was a little hard to follow. Although the map is kind of like hard to read a little bit, it kind of makes sense why it looks the way it does because of like the theming. From a theming standpoint, it makes sense why it looks the way it does, all like digitally and kind of like that. So I can give that a pass, but the navigation assist I found to be kind of buggy at times. It would tell me to go backwards and like go back all the way to a certain point and then turn around and go back the way I came just for the navigation to continue taking me where I need to go. Most of the time it worked, but at times it would act all buggy and sometimes not even like activate properly. So I had to like kind of guess where I was going, and then I wouldn't know where I'm going and I would go the wrong way, and then it wouldn't direct me in the right direction. I don't know. It just didn't work the way it was supposed to some of the time. So it made it kind of harder for me at times to kind of navigate the world. It's especially if you're like just getting started with the game, you're not going to know where the fuck you're going. You're going to need navigation assist. It can be a pain at times when that doesn't work the way it's supposed to. That was probably the biggest issue I noticed aside from the PC performance being bad. Okay, so let's talk about the difficulty levels. Unfortunately, I tried doing like the Jedi Knight difficulty, and after a while it was too hard. I had to bring it down. I know I'm bad, I guess. I don't know. I was on Jedi Padawan for most of it. I think that was a good enough challenge. The difference between story mode and Padawan for like difficulty is too much of a jump. I think there needs to be something in between, because the jump between story mode is like painfully easy, and then Jedi Padawan was a little too hard at times. I feel like I needed something in between a little bit. I'm gonna get into spoilers here, so if you don't want spoilers, skip to the timestamp on the screen right now. I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna say spoilers. Okay, I'm saying spoilers. The Darth Vader boss fight towards the end of the game, that was too hard in Jedi Padawan for me. I don't know. The other stuff, even the Bode final boss, I thought that was pretty tough, and I was like almost having to like lower the difficulty, but that one I made it through without changing, and I thought it was fine at the end. It was a tough one, but it was the final boss, so I mean, that worked out. The Darth Vader boss fight was way too fucking hard in Jedi Padawan for me. Like, compared to everything else in the game that I had encountered under the Padawan difficulty mode, Vader was like ridiculously hard. It was like, I don't know what it was about it. I get it, right? He's Darth fucking Vader. It's not going to be an easy fight, you know? But it was absurdly difficult in comparison to everything else I had faced, to the point where I literally spent like, what was it, 2 hours on it before I was like, you know what? This is taking too much time. I need to lower it to the story mode difficulty just so I can get through this and then move on. And the story mode difficulty is such a drop down that it's like painfully easy. I fucking did that fight in like a minute and a half, which is too easy. It was too easy. Story mode was too easy. Padawan was too hard for me. There was no like middle ground, and that's because the jump between Padawan difficulty and story mode difficulty, it's too much of a jump. There needs to be something in the middle to like kind of make it like kind of balance it out a little bit, because the story mode is like painfully easy. Like, it was like it almost diminished what happened in the story afterward a little bit because of how easy the fight was. It like made it weird, you know what I mean? Story mode was way too easy. Padawan was way too hard for me. That might be just a skill issue. I absolutely have a skill issue, so like I don't want to like complain about it too much, but I thought that the way the difficulty was balanced, I think overall it wasn't too much of a problem, but specifically for the Vader fight, it was unreasonably difficult, in my opinion, but I don't know, that's just me. Okay, another quick complaint I have is about the healing system. So, as you know, Cal will, like, pop a stim, you know, stab it in his arm. He gets a certain amount of stims, and that will heal you. I thought that the stim process is too easily interrupted. I mean, I guess I don't want to complain about it too much, because it makes sense that, you know, if he's like stabbing people with a lightsaber, he's not gonna be able to use a stim at the same time. That makes perfect sense. But I feel like there were times, absolutely, where I would try to heal and I just couldn't, or the process would be interrupted and it would cause problems. And I died many, many times because of that. And I thought that there were definitely times in which I should have been able to finish the healing process, but I couldn't. And I know there are different things you can do to make the healing process faster to avoid that a little bit. And I did do that with the skill tree, but like, I don't know, I think that was a little annoying. But again, I don't want to complain about it too much, just because it kind of makes sense why the healing process would be interrupted if you do a certain action or whatever. But I think that at times it was pretty frustrating for me playing through when like the process would get interrupted, and I feel like that should not have been interrupted. I should have been able to just finish the process. The user interface for the settings, I had to play with the settings a lot during my first 8 hours of the playthrough before I updated the graphics drivers, because I was trying to figure out like how I could get the game to perform properly. And I don't know, the UI with the settings and the menu and all that, I found to be kind of annoying. I feel like they could have done a better job of making that easy to work with overall. Like, you know, you'd click on a setting and then you have to press enter on the keyboard to try and like actually toggle it, and then the arrows or the WASD to like actually switch. I don't know, for whatever reason, I found that to be kind of annoying to work with, and there were times where I would like try to mess with a setting and it wouldn't work, and I would be like clicking all over the place trying to make the setting like change, and it was kind of a pain in the ass. I feel like they could have done a little bit better of a job with making that work. And the final main con I want to talk about, the transitions between certain cutscenes, specifically between different angles within a single cutscene, when you would transition between camera angles, it would be fucked. It would glitch the fuck out for like a split second whenever it transitions from one camera angle to another. I think that's another thing that might be because of the PC port being so bad. I don't know if it's like that on console, but like it would glitch out for like a split second. You'd have to kind of, if you blink, you miss it. But if you look between the camera angles, when it changes camera angles within a single cutscene, it'll act so fucking weird. I don't know. It's just like a small thing that like you can easily ignore, but like I definitely noticed it at times and I was like, wow, that's like hilariously bad how it just glitches out and acts so fucking funny. So overall, this game was very fun. I think that it was very much affected by the bad PC port. I think that on console, it's a much better experience. It's going to be a lot smoother, but as a PC player, it was not as good as it could have been. It kind of was unable to reach its full potential on PC because of, like, they fucked up the PC port, basically. The game at its core is a very well done game in many different aspects. It had its issues, but overall, it was a very fun game, a great one for Star Wars fans to play. I recommend playing Fallen Order. If you haven't played any of these games, you gotta play Fallen Order first, and then you can play Survivor, and it's really great. I look forward to the third game very much. Hopefully they don't fuck up the PC port. Otherwise, I'm going to have to buy a fucking Xbox or PlayStation or something. It was very fun, and I enjoyed it very much. If I had to rate it out of 10, I'd give it like a... Now, let's do like a Rotten Tomatoes thing. How about... I'm going to give it... On PC, it's like an 85. If it were on console and like the performance was better, I'd give it like a 92. The PC version of Jedi Survivor, I give an 85 because everything was phenomenal, but it was very much hindered by the lack of quality performance on a PC. It's just something that you should play on console if you have the means to do so. Only play it on PC if you have no other option. A very fun game. Would recommend. If you are a Star Wars fan and you are a gamer, I think that Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor are must-plays for you. They are very worthwhile games to play if you are into Star Wars. They are very fun. Well, yeah, that's Toasty's 2 cents. Like, subscribe, and keep vibing.